G'day, folks. AOS Coach here, and we are talking all things Generals Handbook 25-26. I always just call it the year that's upcoming, like a financial year. It's GHB 26. We are in 25. We are doing a preview to talk about everything that we've gone through, kind of help you set up and understand what the changes that are coming in the GHB. Some of the things we can't talk about because they'll be coming up a little bit later, closer to release on Warhammer Community. So know that this isn't 100% of everything we're going into, but we'll cover 99% of at least what's in the General's Handbook and what you can expect so far. I am joined by James O'Brien. James, probably no introduction, doesn't need an introduction. You have been on the channel before. Yep. Tournament Organising Extraordinaire, Golden Ticket winner, and Tough Crowd Enthusiast. Welcome back. How you feeling? GHB, how you feeling?
2020, GHB 2026. I am more excited for this than I have been for any other GHB since AOS came out. When AOS 4 was launched, one of the selling points was that you could change a lot season to season because of the modular nature of the rules, and this absolutely does change a lot. So I think it's going to be a fascinating year. I think it's going to be a great experience for all of us to play, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, and obviously we've just come off the back of all of the Scourge of Ghyran or soggy updates, which have been giving every faction a set of rules. For a lot of people, the hype is real. They're like, yes, I've got this sick new model, or my absolute favorite type of model, or I've gotten a new prayer law. We'll talk about the soggy updates soon, but it is kind of interesting. We've had our first year of vanilla 4th edition. I must say, was disappointed that there was no realm. The first thing I'm like is, what realm are we in? We've been spent the last 3 years in where were we? We're in destruction. We're in Gur. We're in Gur. We're in Gur. We're like this whole narrative unfolding. Like, where's the realm? What does the realm do? So we are in Ghyran. And before we get into the rules, for those people who are picking up the book, I say book, it's actually in a box. By the way, link down below. Go support. If you can support the channel, amazing. Links are down below, whether it's Warpfire Minis, Element Games, or good games. Gap Games. It is early in the morning, so bear with me here. But inside the box, what you will get is you've got your GHB. GHB is actually quite a lot thinner, a lot smaller. One of the changes that I noticed is that the terrain maps, our battle plans, aren't in the book. What they are they're in a set of cards where you've got your battle plan cards, and it's also got your tactic cards as well. So I know I'm showing you both, but there's tactic cards as well. We'll go through tactics. We'll talk a little bit about the battle plans. You've also got these objective markers. So for those who don't have objective markers, you've got 6. And something important to note is this season is interacting with Ghyran rules. So you'll notice that each of the 6 markers do have a Ghyran Sylvaneth marker. It has like a Winterleaf, and read the GHB. We'll talk a little bit about it in a moment, but your terrain is going to interact with that. So if you're not going to pick up this book and you've already got terrain, you're going to have to think about how you mark those objectives. And then there's also the new Warscrolls for manifestations. I think they haven't changed, but it's just nice to have them in a small little deck.
Yeah,
James, anything else?
Yeah, they're those cards. They've got the ability, the spell you cast to summon the manifestation, as well as the rules for the manifestation itself in the same place, haven't they? So
they're double-sided
improvement. Yeah.
Oh, actually, yeah. Yeah, there's some of that stuff. Yeah, cool. Cards. We got the app as well. You want to get into? Let's talk GHB. Let's talk GHB. Let's bring it all up and get into the goodness. So, I just kind of showed you off what you get for this upcoming season. If you are new to Age of Sigmar, this is a year. So we are kicking one off in June. So it'll be 12 months kind of from June 25 to around June or July 26, roughly. There's no hard specific date. So this is a 12-month update. And what we'll be working through is there are 12 new battle plans to work through. So these are different to last edition. You've also got these themed objectives. We'll talk about that. You can see the little markers and the symbols, and those symbols do mean something. So at minimum, go find yourself a little couple of acrylic circles, maybe with colors on them. At best, grab this, whatever you do you. There is 6 battle tactic cards now. Now, battle tactics has changed significantly, and the way you score battle tactics, we'll talk about this in the video. We've got the seasonal rules, the Scourge of Ghyran, and what does it mean? And there has been some tweaks to the core AOS rules that we'll also call out. James, anything that you want to say at this particular point? Pretty self-explanatory, lots to get into.
Yeah, it's going to be great. And I think the big... I think a few people were, whilst it was a nice nostalgia moment to have like new versions of old missions for the first season of AOS 4, now we've got 12 brand new battle plans, and they are quite different in some instances. And when you pair that with redesigned battle tactics system, you're looking at a very different game in the next season. So I, for one, I'm pumped and looking forward to it.
Yeah, the battle tactics is going to be a game changer, because the way we think of our lists, the way that we think about being offensive or defensive, the combinations, everything has foundationally changed. Even the role of, we've seen some very elite armies in the past where it's just go in, smash, control the center of the board. That's it. This is completely changing the list construction. So, some good updates overall, but look, let's stop talking about high-level stuff. Let's get into the goodness. So, there are a couple of changes that are worth calling out. The first one being all-out attack. All-out attack still does give you that +1 to hit, as we are familiar with, but it's actually brought in a second component of the rule, and you can see down the bottom it says, for the rest of the turn, subtract 1 from save rolls for the unit using this ability. So we saw this rule get introduced in the Path to Glory campaign. The it was like this action kind of rage, and like people were like, you start swinging and you probably don't have as much defense up, and they've kind of brought that over here. This is huge. I think this is going to be a massive, massive impact to the game. I know for myself as a Gargan player, I have concerns because I have a 4-up save. I rely on all-out attack, especially when there's a debuff happening, and things like just generally I'm like, this is going to make things like, do I use the +1 to hit, or do I just go for base profile? James, what are your thoughts initially on the all-out attack?
I don't know whether this is going to sort of increase or decrease the lethality in the game, because you're going to see people reluctant to use their all-out attack in some instances, because then they're going to be penalized on their save for the rest of the turn. So you might see some offsetting the use of it. So whilst in theory it's easier to kill something that's used all-out attack, you might therefore see less uses of all-out attack and lower that lethality threshold a little bit overall. I haven't played enough with it yet to really say how I feel, and obviously you know that I play a lot of Stormcast, and so a 3-up save anyway, I could potentially, and other means of getting +1 to hit, I could see myself very infrequently using all-out attack in the future.
Yeah, it's something that I will happily use all-out attack in shooting. I think in all-out attack in combat now is a real decision, and you talk about lethal being like more lethal. This in combination with the all-out defense change, which now is only a set of attacks rather than the whole round. So what that means is if you're just 1-to-1, it's no problem. If you're 1-to-2, so I've got, again, is using my example, I've got a Mega Gargan and it's tied up against 2 enemy units that have charged or I've charged into them, I can only all-out defense against one of the 2 targets. So the other one is just going to get a free ride. So the value or the duration of all-out defense isn't as long as it's been. So you're going to usually all-out defense, if I'm fighting 2 units, which is going to do the most damage. So I pick all-out defense there. things that can shut down commands or things that can like mess with me. Again, debuffs is gonna hurt even more. Rent's probably gonna be a little higher.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I think this is, and we're going to come back to this a lot, I think, this is the first of the changes that suggests that kind of an MSU style army may be more effective in this GHB, because you're trying to give, you're trying to basically that point where you talked about, is it, do I all that defend against unit A or unit B? If you've got units A through D, then you're further separating that out. You're limiting the amount of your incoming damage your outgoing damage that your opponent can actually all out defend against. So I think that's the first of a number of instances where we'll see kind of an MSU maybe a slightly better option than tend to see a relatively small number of units and armies at the moment, certainly for the last season. So I think this is a change that's going to push us in the MSU direction.
Yeah, I think this has a lot of impacts. It has impacts to the value of some units where you always all out attack or all out defense. I think it changes the value of battle formations and artifacts and things that can natively give you a +1 to hit or a +1 to save. Where previously you'd go, oh no, I've got all out attack, don't need it. Now, if I can get a flat +1 to hit and I don't have to worry about all that attack, I think the value has just gone completely up. I think to your point as well, a lot of people raced to the bottom and tried to get as low as 1 or 2 drops as possible. I think there are some combinations, to your point, where taking more units that are easier to die, score your battle tactics, and you're not going super elite is going to mean that your deployment drops will probably go to like 3 to 4. I think maybe not necessarily 4, like you don't have to go 4, but I think the race to the bottom isn't as aggressive, and there'll be some intricacies here. So interesting changes. I think, to your point, we just have to play around with it a lot more. But overall, just be really mindful. And I think this gives me a pause for a moment to go, right, which army am I going to run? What units am I going to run? What combinations? Or like, for example, the Cauldron, like in my playing Daughters of Cain at the moment, I'm like, okay, I've got a +1 bonus now to my save. The inherent bonus has just gone significantly up for that.
Yeah. Definitely.
There are a couple of other changes on the screen here. The first one I'll just call out. It's a quick one, but it's an interesting one. Banished manifestations, while it's not a new rule, you'll notice there's a little bit of wording here, that a little bracket that says, including when using magical intervention. So now there's an opportunity to get rid of your enemy or your manifestations in general by using magical intervention. Interesting, situational. I don't think I've ever been in many situations where I've wanted to get rid of it. I've got a priest or I've got a wizard. I'd rather use a spell one, but I guess it's another option.
It is, yeah. It'll be interesting to see how impactful that one becomes, because I think it's good to provide those options for, because they can, the manifestations, one of the big things that they can do is really sort of play into board control, and you have more ways of eliminating that as a factor in board control now. So I think I'm a fan.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't cost you anything. You don't want to use it, ignore it. If you like, yeah, cool. It's interesting. I'm glad it's there, I guess. The other one that I'm really glad is there is a new ability called Sacred Rites, which pick a friendly priest to use the ability and then roll a d6. If you roll a 1, you lose your ritual points or d3 ritual. But if not, you get to gain ritual points. Now, I have a lot of thoughts on this one. I'll pass it over to you first, James. As a Stormcast person, you've got a lot of priests in your faction. Mm-hmm. Do you like this rule?
Yes, I do. I'm a big fan. A number of times in the last year, I find myself saying, "I'll pray whatever." Like, I'm not even like, I know I'm actually working towards trying to get a 10 or a 12. So the first time I'm praying, I'm just praying for whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm not, whatever I roll on the dice, I'm not going to be chanting that prayer. So this giving you the option just to say, I'm building points, and penalizing you less for when you hit the 1, what's not to like? Like, it's great. Unless you don't have access to priests, in which case you don't like this. But
Who knows? But yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with you. The other thing as well is it increases the value of double priests. So anyone who has multiple prayers, and maybe you've got it's great. It's an easy way to bank up those ritual points, especially in the early game. I'm a big fan. Like it's self-explanatory. More ritual points, the better. Play more into priests. I do enjoy them. Any final thoughts on this slide before we move on?
No, it's good.
It's definitely interesting. I don't know if I'd say good, personally, as it's structured.
It's going to, destruction. I think destruction and monsters are the two that it seems to me will least like, particularly the change to all that attack, but also all that defense, in fairness.
I think it's going to hurt really even more for people like me who also had Prize Beast. So I had this +1 natively running around. I not only will lose Prize Beast, I've now got this issue. So, but again, long story short, it's going to make me, and it has made me think a lot differently around my list. Like with my Gits and my Dock and my Stormcast, I'm thinking about things differently around what do I value? What can I bring in? What can I do to mitigate all that attack, all that defense? Do I even really need it? And do I spend more CP on other things? So if nothing more, it's getting me rethink about my units and my army, and that's only a good thing.
Yeah, I was going to say vigil or stocks are up.
Anything like that, like, +1 here, or if these are like, take it. But equally, if there's a debuff available to you, you'll grind people's gears through your debuff option. So equally. So we did talk a little earlier about these new objectives. The size of the objective has not changed, folks. So it is still the same objective that we're playing from. The difference here is that there are these 4 tokens. There are 6 objectives, yes. So there are 2 doubles. So you can see here that you have 2 Oakenbrow, 2 Gnarlroot, 1 Winterleaf, and 1 Heartwood. So they're all marked on the objective, and on the battle plans, it does call out what is what. So what you really need to understand here is the interaction of the objectives with these particular tokens. And you'll notice that some objectives and some battle plans will talk about having to control paired objectives, which might mean 2 of those Oakenbrow or 2 of those Gnarlroot to score or do something on the table. James, any thoughts or any first impressions? I like it. I think it kind of reminds me of Spearhead a little bit.
It does. I think there's some inspiration being taken from that and the success that has had. I also like the thing that first stood out to me is the 6 of them rather than 8 of them. So no Scorched Earth type mission with 8, which was very in many cases very difficult to cover, but also having the paired objective concept really opens up another dimension in terms of mission design and the way that missions could be done and the way that you could score. So I think it's adding another level into or another layer into how missions can be put together by having this concept. So yeah, I'm a huge fan.
And it it's not even a new concept. If you think about some of the battle plans where it's like control the flanks or control the home, it's a pair. It's literally the same thing. It's just now we've got a symbol rather than home or flank.
Yep.
Yeah, look, I think more of this becomes important for a context when we start looking at battle plans and things like that. And while we won't go through all of the battle plans, I don't think it's the best use of any of our time. I think what you call that is really important. It's like there is 6 of them on the table. There is the pairing ones. And I think just, again, think about it a little bit differently. And I think to your point, I've been thinking a lot about the value of those minimum viable, like small units, the infantry, the cavalry, who can go out and start scoring these things because, especially in a pair, I need to be able to do 2 things rather than have one concentrated, amazing unit that goes and claims the center. Great. I need to go get pairs.
Yeah. I think a really key thing here as well is the obscured objectives. The Ghyran Objectives rule, where objectives can, in some instances, have the obscuring rule, and the way that obscuring works has changed in that now you can, you just need to be within an inch of that objective in order to get that obscuring rule. So again, we said when we talked about all-out attack that it didn't seem like shooting was suffering. there's a very thematic element of everything's overgrown and jungly and that kind of thing because it's Ghyran, and therefore you've got a bit more cover kicking around for and a bit more sort of a blocking line of sight for shooting and spells and other purposes as well, which is another change.
Yeah, good call out. Really good call out. Which actually leads me into this. Now, it's like, but I want to, before we get into what you just talked about, this is the one that blew my little mind, because as soon as I saw Pop, Place of Power in the old book, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to run for that extra +1 to cast. I'm going to sit there for magical intervention and kind of neutralize that -1 to get a +1, and I'm on base. And, it's been amazing for priests and for wizards. Guess what, folks? It's changed. It's not there. So what Activate Place of Power does instead is you still do roll the dice as we have been in the past, but the abilities have changed. So you, instead of getting a +1 to cast or +1 to chanting, you now get one of three things. So you've got the Pollen, which is going to roll a dice on a roll of a 1, inflict 1 mortal damage on each unit, friend or foe, within 6 inches of the Place of Power. On a 3-up, you get to heal 2 to each unit, friend or foe, wholly within 6. You've got the Sprouting that picks a Ghyran objective or visible terrain feature within 12 of the hero. Roll a dice on a 3-up. That objective or terrain feature is obscuring, and James was just talking about that. And then finally, you've got the Lines, which is for the rest of the turn. If that hero is not a wizard or priest, it can use Unbind or Banish Manifestation. So similar, we had a similar rule in the last version of that. It's just that we no longer have the +1 to cast or chanting. It's now the Cacturus Pollen or the Rapid Sprouting. James, impacts of both the loss and the gains.
Yeah, I think this could be the first wee-wah of the video. I love this. I really do. Cauterizing Pollen. I can see instances where you're behind in a game and you're desperate and you're actually hoping to roll a 1 to try and do some damage to your opponent. And then also, obviously, everybody's turning into Sylvaneth and getting the ability to heal off these with this Cauterizing Pollen. And then Rapid Sprouting I talked about. You can give yourself quite a build in some protection using that ability, and then tap the ley lines is similar to what we've seen before. But I leaned pretty heavily into trying to get the +1 to cast or +1 to chant with my priests, so that I could get the effects I wanted off, particularly with your Morbid Conjuration spells, that kind of thing, needing an 8 to cast. You wanted to try and stack, and the relative paucity of +1 to cast, +2 to cast outside of that, you're really looking for those bonuses. So yes, you're losing that if that was a part of your strategy, but the benefits that I think you can get from the first two effects here are huge.
I think the other thing to call out in partnership here, and you can't see it on the screen, I'm going to do my best possible, right? If you look at the battle plan in this particular example, they are more aggressive with the Places of Power. In the past, your Places of Power were often like on the flanks or in they were never centralized. They were never in the middle of the board. Now they are way more aggressive. So you can be going for those mortal damages. You could be manipulating the objectives. And like I'm just showing you a whole bunch of different cards. You can see it. There is more than 2. Like there were times where you'd have 2 or less. Now it's not uncommon to see 4 Places of Power on the board. So the ability to manipulate and go in for the mortal damage, to be healing, or to be playing around with the terrain feature, there's a lot more play here. A lot more play. I think it's an interesting change. I think, again, we talk about the value of lists and priests and looking at the value of inherent pluses to cast, the value of those casts of 7 or 8. They become a little bit riskier. Can I now rely on Mindrazor when I don't have a Place of Power? Does this change what I want to do with magical intervention? All of these questions now play out and go, is this still the right decision? Is this still what I want to use? And does it add the most value? Some armies are going to respond better to this than others, but it makes me look at all of those selections like artifacts and heroic traits and battle formations to pick the right thing for me.
Yep, I do like this. It's a change, and this is a really good example of the terrain module in the advanced rules from the previous season, changing to reflect kind of the story arc and the lore of moving to Ghyran, which is a different realm. So yeah, I'm excited.
Can I ask you, just to bring it back to something you raised around obscuring?
Yep.
So we can see the rapid sprouting is going to bring obscuring onto objectives, something we've never had before. And obviously the obscuring rule you can now see on the right. As a Stormcast player who has a lot of like Vigilors, long strikes, a lot of really good quality shooting, how do you see this playing out? Do you see this as a deterrent to take as many shooting units now? Because people could be camping on an objective, throwing up that sprouting, and basically being immune to that shooting. Does it change how you think about your lists and your tactics?
To an extent, probably not so much with Stormcast as it would with other shooting armies, because the way that it's working, I'm still going to basically try and create a lane for my shooting by using my teleport abilities and my deep strike type abilities in order to get in behind or from a flank. Whereas if I was maybe foot slogging up the board and you were creating these walls of terrain features and objectives that had that obscuring rule, then I might struggle a little bit more with it. But where it is now, it's not. I don't think it's going to impact your Stormcast players too much, for example. But I don't know, something like Lumineth, maybe, where you were having your Sentinels do a similar thing, might impact that so much. Might impact that a little bit more. And the second bullet point on the obscuring rule there, that you can't sit your shooters inside an obscuring piece of terrain and just have them fire within 3 inches of the edge of it and have them shooting out, because you're going to lose half your range. So they're only going to be, in general, firing a max of 9 inches at that point. So yes, it's okay for a covering fire or defensive purposes, but you're not already projecting power with it. So I think in order to sort of get around this, you have to overlay other abilities on top of your shooting in order to still be effective, which the units are pointed to sort of incorporate the fact that they have to have all of these abilities as well. So it's for some shooting armies, I think it may present more of an issue than others, but shooting arguably got a bump up from the change to all out attack and all out defense. So I think it should be fairly balanced between the two, I think.
It goes back to what we've been saying all show. It's asking questions. It's now making like, what do I value my crawlers or my doom divers who now have a really long range? And okay, cool. One objective is now obscuring. I'll go target another one. Does it change the value of translocate, where, okay, right, well, I want to go for this objective. It's now zoned off. I can't get there. So I'm going to go hunt down a different one where I'm not as worried. Like there's so many questions that come up from this that is going to create some really good stuff for list building. So really positive. This one, I'm not going to spend too much time on. I want to call it out, but I want to just put the context that you'll learn more in Warhammer community not long after this video. So basically, we already know from Warhammer community that there are pitch battle profile changes. So every 3 months approximately, we are already familiar that points change. We see unit points change. Sometimes we see some changes in like regiment options and things like that. But for the vast majority, points go up, points go down, depending on popularity and strength and win rates. And there's a lot of science behind the scenes on how points fluctuate over time. What you can now expect moving forward is that your other options are going to feature in the battle profile. So Games Workshop have said that most options are now going to be 0, but there's an ability to fluctuate on your artifacts, your terrain, your spell lore, your heroic traits, manifestations. So we saw, for example, James, you and I both know that, at the start and for a fair while of 4th edition, things like Morbid Conjuration, Forbidden Power, Primal, for example, were clearly the winners when it came to the universals, and they didn't stack up to Aetherwrought Machineries. Like that manifestation law, no comparison. And that's why we saw Purple Suns everywhere. We saw Bridges everywhere.
Yep.
Now Games Workshop have the ability to flex and say, you know what, we've seen a particular heroic trait is just dominating, it's broken, or it's really strong. So we're going to adjust the points appropriately. Now, we don't know how many points. I don't know if something's going to be as valuable as, is it a 5 or 10 point increment? Is it something to be aggressive, like this is worth 50 points or 100 points? But just know that this is something in the future, or even something coming now, and these things can change. James, do you have any initial thoughts on the pitch battle profile based on what we know?
Based on what we know so far, it seems like those very popular choices are the ones that are going to cost you, which is fine because it's trying to drive list diversity, which is cool because you don't want to go and play 5 mirror matches in a tournament, But at the same time, if the other options aren't very good, let's say you're playing a middling win rate faction that has one particularly obvious heroic trait, you're taking that. But then if you don't have to pay 20 points extra for it, but none of the options are still any good, just feels like a tax at that point. So I think it needs to be very, there needs to be quite a lot of thought put into actually applying that change rather than just going, okay, which is the most popular one for the factions? Okay, they're all going up 25 points. I don't know. Like I could speculate, but like I can guess. I would have a good guess about what is potentially going up. But I would like there to be other worthwhile options, which I think maybe Scourge of Ghyran has done.
Bingo. 100%. Scourge of Ghyran has added extra options. You called it out. This is a tax. I want to just keep people to calm their farms because most of the choices will be 0. There will be some things that will cost points, but for the communications that they've said to us, it's mostly 0. So until I see evidence that that's no longer true and most things are now 10 or 20 or 50 points, then I'll have a different opinion. It is a tax. It's a negative overall. But at the same time, the amount of discussions that I've had with top players where we talk through a faction and I'm like, what's your favorite heroic trait? And it's always one. What's your favorite artifact? There's just one go-to artifact. Now with the points coming in, it's risk versus reward. That 20 points can now turn you over points. So now it's like, right, do I cut the artifact or do I cut a unit? And what do I then put into that unit? Or do I go with something a little different? And then because I'm taking that artifact, I then have to manipulate my list to get the most of it. It asks a lot of questions. So it is a tax. We can't change the opinion. That's exactly what it is. But it's a balancing mechanic that hopefully should encourage the other parts of the book.
Yeah, and remember, there are those new ones from Scourge, because I think about it like from a Stormcast perspective. There was the longest while that everyone was taking Mirror Shield and Envoy of the Heavens. But now with Scourge of Ghyran, you're definitely going to see people taking the other direct traits and the other.
They're taking that glory one. They're taking those at the honor.
They're taking that glory one, and they're taking the Autocaster Prayer on 7 because Iridan's enhanced effect on the prayer is 7. So yeah.
All right, we've probably spent the length that I want.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fine. Like, I don't think anyone's going to complain if Morbid Conjuration is 50 points. I think people will. Yeah.
And also, actually, last point there, I was going to try to move us along. The last point that I want to make there to exactly that is that I think this actually might encourage more people to take their faction manifestations over the universals. So, because it's hard. Like, I look at my Gits one, I'm like, why on earth would I ever take the Gits manifestation over the universals? Like, Primal, so good. Morbid, so good. Forbidden Valor, so good. Right.
Come on.
But now,
the mushroom, Mort's Mighty Mushroom is amazing. I love that spell.
I'm going to move on. You get the point. You get the point. I think it does change a little bit on the value of things. We did have the new enhancements. So while this isn't necessarily in the Generals Handbook, it is a feature that is in the upcoming season. By the time that this video is out, we'll have every faction that is match play legal will have their own Scourge of Ghyran update. It's match play legal, so you can take it at tournaments. You shouldn't need to ask for permission. It is a part of the rules. It is basically like what Honor Guard was for this season.
Yep.
And so just to clarify, the Warscrolls can be used in an Army of Renown. You can't bring in like your faction traits or enhancements into an Army of Renown. Army of Renown's a little contained little thing. The Warscrolls are optional. So if you like your Kraken Eater, for example, as it always was, you do not have to use the Scourge of Ghyran version. It's completely up to you. And just because I pick the Kraken Eater, for example, the Scourge of Ghyran Kraken Eater, doesn't mean I need to take the other soggy rules. Like, it's not like one or the other. I can pick and choose what modular parts I put into my list, but I can't have one Kraken Eater from Scourge of Ghyran, one non-Kraken Eater. Like, I've got it. If I pick a Kraken Eater, they're both original or Scourge.
Mm-hmm.
James, what are you thinking? How are you feeling about these updates?
When I first got told about this, I was like, "Oh, this seems like it's going to be a lot, and it's going to be quite complicated." And I didn't love the 40k one when they did a similar thing of before Christmas one year. They've been fantastic. They, like, for building the hype, they've been outstanding. And I've really enjoyed it. And everybody has got something. Yes, there's been one or two factions that have maybe been like, oh, that was a little underwhelming, or at least the players who is sort of main that faction are perceiving it as to be underwhelming. But I'm so excited. I'm almost more excited to be able to play the Scourge of Ghyran rules as I am for the new GHB coming out, and we'll see that's their time together. It's going to be superb. It's breathing life into new Warscrolls that were frankly underwhelming and therefore weren't getting picked. So Iridan, that's 50% painted already, so as soon as the GHB drops, Iridan will be plugged in there, because they've now got a banging Warscroll. Endless Sharks on Deepkin. It's amazing. Well, not technically Endless Sharks, but close enough. And then I think just this last weekend, when the Lumineth Scourge of Ghyran rules came out, the new Light Authorial, like, it's just like simple changes, just transforming the utility of that particular war scroll, or the new command ability, or the new spell, or I think it's really good news. I think my impression from talking to people is that these things have gone down really well with the community as a whole, and I'm super excited to see this generate a bunch of new units hitting the tabletop that we don't see all that often.
Yeah, I've felt 4th edition for a long period of time has been very vanilla. I haven't been the biggest fan of list building for many reasons. I think it's just we potentially stripped too much back from 3rd edition going into 4th. These Scourge of Ghyran updates, whether it's the monstrous traits, I love monstrous traits. I'm so excited to see like your Fire Slayers, Seraphon. It's so hard. I've literally done a video now for everyone, so it's all like this little mesh of content. Your ogres getting the big names rules. You're getting new prayer laws in factions. You're getting updates to Warscrolls. I've got the Kraken Eater here. Things like Rodigus, Iridan, other units that are whether it's the Scrap Launcher and the Iron Blaster. The Daughters of Cain got new updates to, like, there's so many cool updates. Again, it goes back to everything we've spoken about so far, which is it's making me reconsider my lists, my choices, You mentioned Stormcast and, moving away from Mirror Shield and now having access to the ability to do Finest Hour multiple times. And off the back of that, you trigger the fact you're like, okay, this is really good for a Star Drake. I haven't had a Star Drake in my list before. No, I'm going to add a Star Drake. If I take a Star Drake, what do I take? Do I take more Extremist Chamber? Do I take this? Do I take that? So all of a sudden, I move away from Krondys and I've now got a Star Drake and now I'm building around differently. So all of a sudden, I don't have to move that way, but I now have options and now viable choices to bring something a little different to the table or dust off this Kraken Eater that I haven't touched since 2nd edition. Now has serious play. It's not that he's busted. He now has interesting rules that makes me want to try it out.
I think there's a lot of people who went and dusted off their Carnosaur or their Carnosaurs after the Seraphon announcement. Scourge of Ghyran.
How many Slam Gores do you reckon have been sold in the last couple of hours since like Heat Knights of Slash, like Deep Striking Slam Gore? Yes, please.
Yeah. And just like a quick word of thanks to you. I know it must have been brutal for you over the last month doing a video every day, but I've got into the habit of like I wait, and then when I see it pop up on my YouTube, and I'm like, excellent! I can skip through and pull out the high points from that video. So I appreciate all the hard work you put in to get that content out to the community on a daily basis for the last month.
Oh, thanks. It's been interesting. I think part of it's also been really interesting because it does open up new combinations and new things where it's like, oh, you haven't seen that before, or like writing up like the new Drycha. It's like, oh wow, this is haven't seen Drycha for a while. We've seen Belthanos, we've seen Alariel, we've seen Spirit of Durthu, but Drycha's not hitting the table now. Drycha is going to be popular. Like all of these things, and it'll be nice to see those underrepresented units hit the table again.
Yep.
And what does that mean for the meta? And you know what? If you still like Alariel and Belthanos, keep running it. They haven't changed, but you've now got a new option.
Yeah, and I'm going to be fascinated to see, particularly with Deepkin, how, because we know they're the next book up, and yet we've got the new GHB, we've got these rules, and we know we get the new book for Deepkin. So it's like interesting times. Really is interesting times, and particularly as we kind of know we must be getting new units when the book comes out because of the photo for the Sons of Behemoth. Scourge of Ghyran release on Warcom, where you could see new Deepkin units in the background of that photograph as well, which was a brilliant Easter egg. So kudos to the GW team on that one.
And speaking of the meta shift as well, we also know there's new battle tomes. We've got Khorne, Flesh Eater Courts, KO, and Nighthaunt. Yeah. So depending on when they come out, like we could have a whole heap of meta shift. Anyway, good news. Use them if you want to use them. Don't if you don't. But I think it's going to breathe a lot of life into list building and complements well the new battle plans, which perfect segue. There is new battle plans. Again, this is just merely a sample of what you can see. Just to reinforce, there are 6 objectives. There is no battle plan that has more than 6 objectives. You'll notice that the terrain layouts are still there. They've been very popular for 4th edition. I really appreciate them as a tournament organizer and as a player. You can see that things like your places of power, there's the top right corner one has more than 3, so you're going to see more of them on the table, and some really interesting terrain layouts. Like if you look at the one in the scepter, and the one in the bottom right, like that is wild. That, like, what is that? What is that?
I'm sure we can talk about this, can't we? So the point structure of the missions is the battle plans is changing. So it looks to me, from what I've read, that there is 10 primary points per turn to be achieved. I think we've seen an example of a mission. So
I can talk about it. So like I'll
add on the primary side, yeah.
So we can talk about it. I just didn't recreate it because we'll be here for Christmas doing each of the battle plans. And I think what we need to do the most is spend time on the battle tactics. So I've purposely genericize this because I want to spend time on the battle tactics. But to give you an example, purely random card I've just picked up from the pile, I'm looking at Linked Ley Lines, which is Battle Plan 6 from Table 1. So I'll read a couple of things. So the twist: while you are the underdog, your army has the Rooted in the Realm and Full of Life abilities. Anthony, what is that? Full of Life, friendly manifestations have Strike First. Rooted in the Realms, each unit's weapons have anti-manifestations +1 rend, while those units are contesting an objective that is both controlled by you and a linked ley lines. So again, there's a whole bunch of things on the mission. How you score this particular one, a linked ley line forms across the battle line edge. You score 3 if you control 1, 3 if you control 2, 2 if you control a pair, and 2 if you control the objective on the linked ley line.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the ley line is just like a cross. So it's not on the screen. I was just seeing if it was on the screen. But anyway, you can kind of see here, it's not this generic 2-2-2-4.
Yeah. So yeah, you get 10 points on the primary side, and then, well, we're going to come on to battle tactics in a minute, but you can get another totally 30, but up to 10 points a turn from your battle tactics, can't you? So it's now, we're not in the 50-point realm anymore, we're in the 80-point realm. And congratulations to anybody who gets 80 points in a mission.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Hopefully it breaks up a lot of the majors and minors, and we have, a lot much more divided. Yeah. That bottom right one is freaking me out. Actually, the center one as well. Like it feels like
how on earth is that? Like what? I've read them like once or twice, but it's like, it's brilliant. You're both starting, and then you're racing to that far objective. Try and grab that, and then it's going to be.
James, what it reminds me of, James? Like if you and me were like, we're going to go for a race, we're going to do a foot race, we're going to do like 100 meters, and the first person that wins first person over the line gets, I don't know, free drinks. And like you and I are at the mark, ready to go. But I'm going to push you to make sure that like I throw you off balance, and then I'm going to run, right? That's literally what we're going to race for, that objective, but also kind of push each other at the same way, just to kind of like, do I just fight you and stop you from the objective? Do I race forward? Do I like try to do both? Interesting. Very interesting. But again, I think to the last point, all the battle plans are different. And I think TOs are going to look at this and go, right, what is going to be the best for competitive? And one of the ones that maybe we'll just kind of put to the side, or maybe use them as like game one, or the one that breaks up.
Yeah. So we had to do mission selection for the Games Workshop
US Opens. And it was more challenging than it normally is, because there's a lot of we wanted to make sure it wasn't picking the most complicated ones, but at the same time also not oversimplify it, because we are going to have like world-class players there. So getting the right balance is great. And these missions and this book definitely do that. So I'm very excited from a competitive play and a TO perspective.
Yeah, curious to see what TOs will pick early on. The where I wanted to spend a lot of time, so we are almost at the hour mark, or 50 minutes. We're not doing too bad. There's a lot to go through, so I hope you guys have found this valuable. This is more than just a skip preview. Like, hopefully we've added some insights to think about how you make the most of the upcoming Generals Handbook. The biggest change, in our opinion, or I'm speaking on behalf of James, is the way that we score battle tactics. So we saw battle tactics introduced in 3rd edition. Battle tactics were scoring, had a conditional thing that we had to score each round. Each round had a allocated set of points. If you missed it, you missed it. And there was no way to kind of go claim it back. It was gone. And it was never a part of list building. It was basically, I am a certain faction or a certain grand alliance, and I get these battle tactics to choose from, and I just pick in the moment. That, as we knew it, has completely changed. So there's no need to pick battle tactics anymore in that particular way. You now have to be more strategic and pick your battle tactics during list construction. What you need to do is you pick 2 battle cards Now, each battle card, as you can see here, has 3 components. The first component is a fray. Once you do that, you can then go for the strike. Once you do that, you can then do domination. So you'll have essentially 6 tactics to complete over the turn. James alluded to it a little bit earlier. You can do 1 card each per round. So, but you don't have to. You can't go through a fray to domination all in one turn. I've got to break it up at least every battle round. So at best, I can score all of my battle tactic points by the bottom of turn 3. But if my army, and there's been plenty of times, James, where turn 1, I don't have a good battle tactic to choose from, and I force myself to seize the center or take the flank and put myself in a bad position because I know my opponent's going to charge me or shoot me off the board, but I've got to, because otherwise I'm going to drop a turn 1 battle tactic, and it's put my army at a disadvantage. And some armies, like my Gargants, don't have a good screen. I don't have these cheap Griffhounds that I can run. I love Griffhounds in Stormcast. I can throw them away. Not everyone has that chaff unit. So now I don't have to do a turn 1 battle tactic, and I just do my sequence how I want to do my sequence, turn 2 to turn 5. So that pressure is removed from me. Anything else I need to call out here? Oh, and each battle tactic is worth 5 points. So you'll be scoring, as James said, 15 points per card, 30 points in total from your battle tactics overall.
Yeah.
High level thoughts before we actually get into the battle tactics.
Yeah.
How do you feel about this change and initial overview?
So I put a bit of thought into this, and there are a number of things about it. I love that this becomes part of list design, another component in list design, and that might actually encourage more diversity of unit choice, because you'd be like, I think I like this battle tactic. I think I like the progression, and you pick units that are good at that progression, rather than just being, sorry, Noah, just being 12 Paladors, that's, Paladors are going to be amazing at battle tactics, but that's besides the point. Bad example. But you introduce another component into list design, and I'm a fan of that. I'm also a fan of the way these cards are set up, and we'll go through them because it challenges traditional list archetypes in the sense that different steps require different things that might lean into different original types of list. And so therefore it can be a challenge to that. Well, I'm going to have 3 reinforced units, a hero and a big monster hero and a smaller hero. And there's my 1-drop, bang, done. That's probably not going to be able to play all the way through a single card particularly effectively, let alone 2. And then again, tying this back to being stated on your list when you go to an event, it's going to be a huge part of the back and forth between you and your opponent, because you're going to spend as much time thinking about how I deny my opponent getting the things, because you know what your opponent needs to score and when they need to score them to stay on track. So you're going to spend a lot of time figuring out how to block, how to deny. So there's very little that's non-interactive on any of these cards, and so it's going to create that sort of almost like a sort of a flywheel. There's going to be a little battle tactic wheel spinning in the middle, as well as your overall capturing objectives and playing the battle plan. So it's going to make for a really interactive game, which is fantastic. And then you brought it up, my last sort of general point on this. The fact that you've got 3 steps in each one and you've got 5 battle rounds to complete them means that you can go behind, you can have a bad turn, and you're not instantly 4 points down, compared to how you are today. So it gives you that regain opportunity, which is going to make it feel more and more like you're still in the game through until the end of the game, despite maybe a couple of misplays. Everybody's done it. That you play against Khorne. Let's say you play against Khorne, you deploy for turn 1, take the flanks. The Khorne player sees that and they deploy in a position where they're going to redeploy and murderless and stop you. And you're like, okay, cool. So I can't get a turn 1 flank. Brilliant. But now it's like, doesn't matter. I'm going to pivot and then I'm going to come back to this. I'm going to try and hit that in turn 2, or even in turn 3, and I can still then tick 3, 4, 5 on that particular card. So I think it's going to make the game a lot more interactive, and I'm all for it.
I'm gonna have to call up my therapist now, because you just gave me flashbacks of a Cron Spine being summoned when I do seize the center. It then charges at 9 inches. It pins me into combat, and those 2 throwaway units of Griffhounds that were never going to fight itself out of a wet bag has now just stuck in, and I've lost that battle tactic. Not that it's happened to me. That's someone else's story. But the point is that with the Affray, and I really want to call this out, you got your 2 battle tactic cards. You don't declare them. So it's not like turn 1, I'm going for Affray, and if I fail it, I'm lost. I stuck. No. It is basically an active battle tactic until you complete it. So to James's point, turn 1, I didn't hit the conditions of Affray. Cool. I just keep going along until I hit Affray. And then I move to strike. I can't jump to strike until completing Affray. So I'm always competing for these 2 Affrays until, and by the way, if one of my cards scores Affray, the other one is still active, I can have a strike and Affray happening at the same time. It's just that I need to make condition 1 before 2, before 3, and it doesn't have to be in a particular sequence. So you could pick a battle tactic where it's like, right, I know that I can score these from turn 1, which is really easy. But then I look at my Affray and I go, right, well, I know turn 3 is when I could achieve this. So it's almost like the sequence starts going through where you've got one that's active from turn 3, one that's active from turn 1, and you're scoring it. And yeah, anyway, there's a lot of science and cool things you can do with it. I just want to really make some of those key points so you understand how the new mechanics works. Anything else before we actually get into the actual tactics?
I don't think so. The only one I don't think that we covered is the initiative.
Yeah, good call. Just with the fact that if you double turn someone, you still can't pick battle tactics, and it does say there that unless your opponent is in the lead by 11 or more points, you seize the center if you win the priority. What do you want to call that on that one?
It's the same way that it's this very similar mechanic to how we've progressed over the last season with the double turn. So it gets to a point where there is the 11 points, the new 6 points, but if you do take a double without being that far behind, then you're not going to be able to score any of these battle tactics. However, as we've said, that doesn't stop you scoring it in subsequent turns in the way that in the current season, you would have lost a 4-point opportunity here. You've not technically lost that opportunity with taking a double in the next season, which is very interesting because we've seen so many moves to reduce the impact or the sort of the power of the double turn. Here, you might be able to get away with a sneaky double and still complete all of your battle tactics.
Yeah. And a future version of me, there's something else coming.
Is there?
You'll know.
Is there something else coming?
Yeah. Nope. Something else coming. Something else coming. So Warcom, keep your eyes on Warcom. Something is coming in a couple of days, like a week after this video, approximately. All right. Anyway, moving along before I get into trouble. The first thing, so battle tactic number 1. So again, we get 2 options. So you guys pick and choose, and hopefully by the end of this, we help you pick your army. Battle tactic 1 is master the paths. Affray is you complete the battle tactic in the turn if an enemy hero has been destroyed this battle. Number 2, strike, is you complete the battle tactic at the end of the turn if there are more friendly units in neutral territory than enemy units. If there is no neutral territory in the battle plan that you're playing, you complete this tactic at the end of the turn if there are no enemy units within friendly territory. Domination, you complete the battle tactic at the end of your turn if at least 3 different friendly units are each wholly within 9 inches of a different corner of the battlefield, and only one of those corners is wholly within friendly territory. No more than one of these units can be set up this turn. first thoughts of, and again, we can't speak for every army in every build in every unit.
Right.
So like this is going to mean different things to different people. But what's your initial thoughts of this particular battle? It's a battle tactic.
This is not one that immediately leaps out to me as something I would jump into. I think it's hard to kick this off. Like the moment your opponent sees that you've selected Master of the Path, their hero is going to be tucked right away, because they know that if they can stop you killing a hero until turn 4, you're never going to get all your points. Maybe once we get more comfortable with this, and maybe once we've talked about the transition to MSU, maybe there are more heroes floating around. Maybe that's very difficult for your opponent to achieve. But at first look, that this seems like it's tricky to start the sequence here. So that didn't immediately out to me. But having said that, I think with I'm looking at it from Stormcast lens, and get at a hero. I quite like the central one because it's a good pinning, you're pushing them back. And then the domination, envelop, and strangle it's quite hard as well, but it has a reclaim the realms type feel to it. And so, yeah, not my favorite, but it's one of those where I think that maybe as the meta game develops, you'll see more people lean into this.
Yeah, it's interesting because I was thinking about the archetypes and what does this mean and what am I looking for if I pick this battle tactic or card. And I was thinking about Affray. I'm looking and promoting things like long range shooting or long range magic. So it could be good for your Seraphon Slan type of build or Stormcast, for example. But then at the same time, what if you play against the Mega Gargant army, which is 35 Gargants? So it's 35 wound Gargants. To your point, you probably don't score that till turn 2, if not turn 3 potentially. So, and those long range shooting does nothing for you. So it's an interesting kickoff point to your point. The domination's a fascinating one because it really rewards you for having high mobility and teleporting and recycled units, especially those ones that come in, from the board edges, like your sharks that you just talked about with the new options. And you'd have to have multiple units to be able to do it. So it's an interesting one, but to your point, how quickly can you kick this one off? So to what I was saying earlier, this might be your second phase one. It's I concentrate on one battle tactic, and this one kicks off turn 2, turn 3, and sees me through till turn 5.
Yeah, very possibly.
I am not rushing to use this one, but some armies, and you know what? Maybe this is good for KO. This could be a really good one for KO as an example.
It could well be a good one for KO. Yeah. KO might struggle with the second part of it.
And that's where the battle plan dependency as well, right?
Yeah.
Like which battle plans is there?
No, yeah, that one where you're both open each. Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. So we'll keep that one. Everyone, like, write down, like, you know, your scorecard, you know, like, how do you rate this in your tier levels? Unfortunately, it's just not easy to say, right, this is like the one perfect one. Everyone's going to see these differently. Yeah. Battle tactic card 2 is Restless Energy. So a fray is you complete this battle tactic at the end of your turn if you control an objective that was controlled by your opponent at the start of your turn. Strike, you complete this battle tactic at the end of your turn if you control every objective within enemy territory. And if there are no objectives within enemy territory, you complete this battle tactic at the end of your turn if you control every objective that was controlled by your opponent at the start of your turn. Domination is you complete this battle tactic at the end of your turn if you control every objective on the battlefield. Wow.
Yeah. I think this
brings up a point we maybe should have mentioned in the overall intro. These things are not easy.
No.
They are not easy, but even though this is not easy, I like this one. The reason I like this one is that, to me, there's a very logical progression of it. I can see myself and my army, my playstyle flowing through this. I'm like, I need to take that objective off you. Okay, cool. Let's assume that was in the enemy territory as well. So I've done that. I then continue my sweeping maneuver around the flank to come across and take the other objective that's in your deployment zone. Right, okay. And now you've pushed forward, so I'm then swinging back into I'm cycling around the board over 5 turns to complete this. So I do like this one. It feels like you're going to score it if you table your opponent. But it's hard. But I do like it.
This is aggressive. This is Beastclaw Raiders, Sons of Behemoth, Varangard, run forward. You probably want to give away first turn, so let your opponent score at least one objective, go claim it, and just move that high control score, high movement, charge in, and just to the point, dominate. I think if you are a super aggressive army and that type of archetype, Kragnos is going to love this type of thing. Murder Pony OBR, cavalry. We've seen a lot of cavalry. Like this could be if you've got a really strong cavalry type army, maybe the new cities Cavaliers, Paladors. To your point, Paladors.
Like this seemed quite good for like a Stormcast list as well. I like it. It's tough. It is tough. You come against 180 clan rats, you're like, that turns out I couldn't complete this battle tactic, but it is. I do quite like this one. Certainly, I prefer that. I would be more in early games of the next season. I would be more likely to take this than I would Master the Past, or the first one we talked about.
Yeah. Again, you can kind of start to see the rewards and how it's trying to influence your build and your play style. And that's why I'm hesitant to say that there's one better than the others. It's just that it's going to change depending on who you are, what your play style is, what your army is, what toys you like to run. Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
This one I love, but I've got to say I love this one.
Oh, we're going to have a disagreement here then.
I didn't say it was good, James. I said I love it. All right, so this one's a really interesting one. So Incept and Recover. So it has an interesting set of rules. It says at the start of the battle, you pick 3 units in their. Your opponent must pick 3 units in their army to on the battlefield that are carrying these Ghyranite treasures. A unit can only carry 1 treasure. If your opponent has fewer than 3 units on the battlefield, you automatically complete a number of these tactics, starting with the domination, so from bottom up. Basically, long story short, you're going to go kill the thing. So if you were, you're going to go kill the thing, right? So you can see, you complete this battle tactic at the end of the turn. If one of the enemy units carrying the treasure was destroyed, and then rinse, repeat, 2 and 3. Interesting note as well at the top, it says, if you went second in the previous battle round and choose to go first, aka double turn, your opponent removes 1 Ghyranite treasure from the battle round. So it's stopping you from scoring doubles. And basically, you got to go kill 3 things, but your opponent gets to choose what those 3 things are. All right. So I said I love it, but I love it because it's hilarious and it's interesting, not because like this is a perfect battle tactic card, because I think there's a lot of conditions against you. It's stopping you. It's the only one that punishes you from taking the double, and it's the only one that gives your opponent a lot of control. James, talk to me.
I play against far too many good players who are going to play around you all day the moment that they see that you have selected this. I'm thinking you're Fabian Barbus. I played him when I play against him with anything that he plays, or when I play against Jeremy Vettier, like they are going to play around you with this, and I can't see myself taking this, because I feel there are times when you're like, I got to take that double turn, and you're going to get penalized for it. But at the same time, if you're going to go out and table your opponent, okay, cool. The other bit is it's units on the battlefield that have to carry it, so that you can't be the units they've got in reserve, that type of thing. So no, Hunters of Huanchi carrying the treasure and that type of thing. But yeah, I think that this is. I mean, it's great that your opponent is going to be incredibly interactive, and I think you're going to have a heck of a game when you play with this card. But I wouldn't see myself taking this to a GT. Like,
in Atlanta in November, I'm fairly confident I'm not taking Intercept and Recover.
So to use my example earlier, like when I play Stormcast, I loved my Griffhounds. I used to take 2 units of Griffhounds. They were great to seize the center and take the flank end. Just generally nice little pests, very, very cheap at 80 points. If I had that same list, I would be more than happy to put 2 treasures on each of those Griffhounds, put them in the corner as far away as possible from you, running away, and just sacrificing them, doing nothing, all to stop you 10 battle tactic points by not letting you score 2 of those conditions.
Yep.
I would sacrifice 200 points to stop you from scoring there. And that goes to James's point, is that a smart player who has a lot of units available, now this will punish armies that are 1 drop, they've gone double reinforced Paladors, or they've gone double reinforced Vanguard with Abraxia, and you've got 3 of these Death Stars, and you don't have many other units. Cool, I've got to kill the 3 units. Easy. But for those MSU, lots of little troops, cheap troops, this could be very, very hard. And competitively, it's a big risk. For fun, it's like 10 out of 10 when it comes to fun.
Yeah, and I'll name drop another one. Like Jeremy Lefebvre's cities list, where he's got like 22 units. We were like, oh god, he's going to beat me anyway. But like,
He's going to further beat me because I can't do this.
What about units like that can teleport in, mid-game, like Shadow Stalkers, your Dreadblade Harridans? Cool. My 2 units of Shadow Stalkers, which is in my Daughters of Cain list moving forward. Cool. I'm going to put 2 of them on. I'm just going to dance around the table and avoid.
or even my Lord Relictor, where I can teleport him potentially because I can counter Pret Chant and teleport him in your turn. Yeah, this is going to be a fun. This will make for some amazing games. But I wouldn't want to rely on being able to score 15 points at this in any regularity.
Yep. Competitively, 1 out of 10. Fun, 10 out of 10. Not necessarily for me, but I'm sure this rewards a particular play style and concentrated damage, armies that... Trying to think of who would benefit the most. If I was going to run this competitively, who would benefit the most? I do think KO again.
It's anything that's got... Ultimately, if you're confident you're going to table your opponent, so it would be super high damage. I don't know. It's more like, what is this good into? This is good into something that only has 3 units, 4 units.
I'm gonna move us forward, but one idea that I had is maybe Incept and Restless Energy are a good combination, because this is rewarding you the same thing.
Yeah,
You're going forward, you're wanting to smash. Over here, you're wanting to smash. So maybe this is the pair. Maybe this is a solid pair.
and I haven't actually started to. I'm not sufficiently far down the rabbit hole yet that I've started to really look into the synergies between the 2 sets of battle tactics.
So on its own, but when you compare it with the fact that I'm going to run forward, I'm going to take objectives, I need to fight you, I'm then needing to kill a bunch of units that are controlling the objective, likely they're going to be supported by the heroes or the troops that are going to have a couple of markers. And this helps you score even in the late game. In the late game, as long as I kill that unit or units, I'm going to score my battle tactics. So that's why I don't want to write this off, but it definitely plays into a certain style.
Yep.
Battle tactic 4 is Wrathful Cycles. The Affray is you complete this battle tactic at the end of your turn if you control more objectives than your opponent. The Strike is you complete this battle tactic at the end of your turn if you are the underdog this battle round, and then there is at least 1 friendly unit on the battlefield, and at least half of the friendly units on the battlefield use the Fight ability this turn. And then the Domination is you complete this battle tactic at the end of your turn if there is a different friendly unit wholly within each large quarter of the battlefield. You control more objectives than your opponent, and there are no enemy units contesting any objectives that you control.
This one is my favorite.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell me. Tell me.
The reason it's my favorite is that I love that there's risk in it. So I'm going to start in the middle, right? To complete Daring Resurgence, you have to be the underdog. And you have to fight with half your units. So I think this is turn 3 Deepkin. But also, if you go back up to the top one, you complete that if you control more objectives than your opponent. That is, it's almost deliberately set up to make it harder to then be able to be the underdog. Because if you're already controlling more objectives than your opponent, you're probably scoring more points early, but somehow you have to then drop down points in order to then be able to complete the second one. And not only that, you're the underdog, you have to fight with half your units. So if you've got an MSU army, which you may well have an MSU army, because we've said there's lots of benefits for MSU in the way this is going to work, that could be quite tough. And then the last one, you basically have to have everything. So this is really, really difficult to do. But at the same time, like, I think you're exercising every skill, every expression of skill in AOS to get through this, which is why I like it. I kind of maybe in a slightly sort of sadomasochistic way, I think that this is the way we should be going. In fact, my notes on this, I wrote, big fan of this.
I was thinking about this battle tactic as a one that's really good for going first. So if I
Yes, it's good for
go first at the of turn 1, I score more tactics in my opponent, but then my opponent wins the double. So then all of a sudden I become the underdog, or maybe my opponent doesn't want to give me the underdog because they know that then that allows me to go into my strike phase. You know what? I'm not going to get double. This is actually my double protection. And I get to, like, that opponent just keeps delaying the double potentially. Obviously, there's other ways.
And when you win that roll 1 into 2, because you've gone first, you give them the double. You force your opponent to take a double. But then again, that means that even then, probably going into 3, you're the underdog, and have to have like positioned excellently so that double that you're forcing your opponent to take doesn't decimate you. And then you've got to basically control the board at that point. Like, I think this is the flex play, is taking Wrathful Cycles. I love it.
You've nailed it, I think. Something like Deepkin, for example, who is more than happy to, assuming it doesn't change in the battle tone, but they're happy to go top of turn 1 and then give away the double between 2 to 3 to then set up for a bottom of turn 2 going into turn 3, all strikes first. This is the perfect card for them.
Yeah, I think it's cool. It's like, this is, I think it is difficult. Like, there's a lot of winning individual dice offs to make this work perfectly, but I think it's going to be so much fun as well to play this tactic.
I can see this card being used for like Lumineth and OBR and Soulblight and Gits. Any type of army that has like a big horde of idiots, they move forward, they want to then centralize in a spot and then embrace the hit. I can see this type of thing because then you're more than happy to go underdog. You're more than happy to fight from under, especially armies like Gits that have the recursion. You can then start bringing things back on, and you've got the ability to bring the side.
Haven as well, potentially.
Exactly. That type of thing. That type of thing. Like, move your clan ruts forward, control. You've got your Narholes down. You've got some manipulation. You then use your Narholes to go get to the flanks of the board. You skid a leap and things like that. But I hope through this discussion, you're starting to kind of see the penny drop of like what's good, what's not good, which cards might work together, what works in your flavor. And again, there is no good or bad. It's just who works better for you. And I love that we're all in the same spot too. It's not like there's 2 destruction cards and 2 order ones, and there's this disparity between Grand Alliances. We're all the same 6 cards. That to me is so good.
Oh, the new Gits on this. New Gits are going to love this.
Exactly. Like, literally push your idiots forward. Anyone, for example, a lot of some factions got the +2 movement, the field sergeant replacement. Yeah. Boom. +2 movement, move them forward, run up the board, control, you've got more objectives, and then give away, as you said, the double, go under, be underdog, then go into strike.
Yeah, it's cool. I like this one.
Look at us, like, and this is why I try to give us as much space as possible, because like the cogs are starting to turn, the combinations are starting to turn, and we're just scratching the surface. We are scratching the surface, and you guys are going to start cooking some crazy things in Discord. I can't wait to see what crazy ideas you come up with. Here's my favorite.
I'm surprised to hear that. I didn't think, as someone who's most famous for playing Gargants, Sons of Behemoth, that you would like this one at all. I love it.
Well, you say that, but I have decided this year, at least for the first 6 months, I'm bringing my Murder Strippers back out, and Daughters of Cain is back on the menu. I was disappointed on the Gargant update, and I was disappointed with just Gargants in general for like the all-out attack, all-out defense. So they're going back into retirement for a little bit, and Daughters of Cain, I'm loving the Witch Elves, I'm loving Kruthesa, I'm loving it all. So anyway, Scouting Force is at the start of the battle. Each friendly non-hero infantry and non-hero cavalry unit wholly within friendly territory becomes a scouting unit. You cannot complete these battle tactics with scouting units that are in combat. Replacement units that replace scout units are also scouts. So anyone that has like the recursion, like Gitz, for example, they come back from the Loon Shrine, boom, your stabbers are still scouts. You score it by a fray. You complete the battle tactic at the end of your turn if there are 3 or more friendly scout units wholly outside friendly territory. Strike, you complete this battle tactic at the end of your turn if 3 or more objectives or terrain features that you control in any combination are being contested by a friendly scout unit. Those objectives and terrain features must be within enemy territory. The domination is you complete this battle tactic at the end of your turn if a friendly scout unit that was not set up this turn is contesting a terrain feature that you control that is wholly within enemy territory and more than 6 inches from friendly territory. Now, before James responds, I want to respond to James. This is terrible for Gargants. I would like the fact that you can't run, like you can't be in combat. Like no.
Yeah,
putting it out there. This is terrible. All right, over to you.
I think it's brilliant. I love that it's very different to the other ones. It absolutely specifies no fighting. And the third bit is probably easier than the second one. If you've done the second one, you're probably getting the third one the following turn, maybe. I don't know. Either way, if you're playing infantry and cavalry heavy armies, you're picking this, I think. But at the same time, you're acknowledging that you're not trying to kill the enemy. Either that or you're completely destroying. You're wiping out whatever you go into combat with, because otherwise you're going to fail. So I think it's really cool. I really do. And I think that the chef's kiss of it is the replacement units that replace scout units are also scouts. That's the bit that helps your Skaven, your Gits, even your Stormcats. Like it helps anything that's bringing back units, that's having replacement units set up. I think it's going to be so much fun to play, and you're going to make. And the reason I really like this is that you're going to make decisions of staying out of combat that otherwise you would just go in and you'd be like, I will kill 90% of that unit, no bother. But I might whiff and I don't wipe them out, and therefore I'm not going to score the battle tactic and hurt myself. So yeah, this is your Wolf Riders and your Sunstealer Wheelers and all that kind of thing. Like this is going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to make people play the game differently as well.
It goes back to my Gryph-hound example.
Yep.
So I saw this before I saw the Scourge of Ghyran updates for Doc. So I just want to put that out there. The fact that then Doc got the update that complements this is even better. This for my Doc, I'm thinking I'm already I literally in the last week I bought a third unit of Canary. I've got 2 now. I've got 3. perfect. Canary, perfect for this. Doomfire Warlocks, perfect for this. Daughters of Cain, Sisters of Slaughter, Witch Elves, perfect for this.
The only thing with the Kinnera, you're going to have to start them on the board.
Yeah. That's fine.
Well, I know I'm 40 inches anyway, don't they?
But like I could put them on the flank, use their high speed to get wholly outside friendly territory, especially mathematically. I looked at the battle plans. 8 of the 12 battle plans have neutral territory.
Okay.
So all of a sudden, I get those Canary with their high movement up into neutral territory. Boom, I've already hit raiding party. Things like Shadow Stalkers as well. I just bought my second unit of Shadow Stalkers, being able to teleport around the board. Like there's so much for units that don't want to get into combat. Those skirmishy flanking type of units. This is perfect for those types of scouts that I think of OBR with the Tyrannic cohort. Things like there's so many units that are like that.
You mean the Tetratic cohort that I literally have on my desk now?
But this is the perfect types of units for this. Like if you've got those cheap units that, as you said, like what are they called? Was this a Yetis? Like the little doggos as well in Icebrow Hunter with the cross sabers. Corn maybe with some their little doggos. Wildercorp Hunters. Like there's so many units like this throughout the game.
Hunters of Fuanchi. I mean, you typically normally start them off the board. There's no reason why you should. Well, maybe you don't here, but yeah.
Point is, like this plays to their strength. So I actually think this is probably the easiest battle tactic card to score out of the 6, if I'm being honest.
I'm not convinced because of the restriction on being in combat.
You've got to build into it. So like my Canary,
Definitely got to build into it, and you've also got to. You're going to be MSU, and it's like those counter charges. Like this is what like the back and forth, like the ability to get for your opponent to deny you with a counter charge is real.
So,
I like it.
So
I really like it.
So with my daughters, for example, I've still got my reinforced unit of Witch Elves and Sisters of Slaughter. Even though they're infantry, they are my combat people. They're still going to do combat things. But I'm purposely allocating 300 to 500 points into those Shadow Stalkers, Canary, who play that role, who could also be screens. But I'm basically allocating 500 points to approximately the scouting units. The life takers can throw things, the Shadow Stalkers can shoot and do things. So they're contributing on the flanks, but they're not necessarily my hammers. So if you are purely my infantry do the damage, this is the wrong card for you.
Yeah.
And the fact you're going to have 3 as well, like if you only take 3 of these and one of those units disappears, you can't score a fray. So you need to, that's why I'm saying 500 points. I've got to have 4 to 5 options because otherwise I'm at risk. One double catapult list stops me from scoring all 3 of them.
Yep. I think this is another one of those. And there are several of those things that we've come up, things that we've talked about that just suggest like that MSU build. And this is definitely one of them. The fact that this is, I think players will intuitively like go, okay, yeah, this makes sense to me. This is how I want to play. This is what my units want to be doing anyway. So therefore, I'm going to pick this card, and therefore I'm going to be quite MSU in terms of list design.
Gitmob are going to love this. This is so good for Gitmob.
I've just got a second promo box of Gitmob just recently as well. So I'm looking forward to putting those things on the table.
It's going to be good. Again, I love that it's shaking up the meta and the list building. The last battle tactic card is attuned to Ghyran. So the affray is you complete this battle tactic at the end of your turn if there are at least 2 friendly units within 3 inches of the center of the battlefield and that are not in combat. The strike is you complete this battle tactic at the end of your turn if all of the following is true. At least 2 units use the retreat ability this turn, and those units are lured. The 2 other friendly units use the charge ability this turn, and at least one of those ended a charge move in combat, with an enemy unit from which any of the lured units retreat. We had a battle tactic like that in the past where it's like have two retreat and charge two. I think was it the last season of third edition? Was it?
Yeah, it was a bit of bait and trap, wasn't it?
Yes, bait and trap. Literally, that's bait and trap. And then domination is you complete this battle tactic at the end of your turn if there are no enemy units within friendly territory and no enemy units within neutral territory. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking I think that this one will get picked a lot. The reason I think this one will get picked a lot is the first two feel very achievable. Like you've got Caesar Center and Bait and Trap. Yeah. Purification Rites is very difficult. Like that's the one that probably relies on you mostly tabling your opponent, because unless they've for some reason sat in their own deployment zone for most of the game, or you pin them in there, then the chances are if they have units, they're going to be by the end of the game either in your territory or neutral territory. So I do like it. I think I can see some play for it. As I say, the first two steps are fairly easy. The third one is pretty tough, which, looking at how difficult it is to sort of orchestrate the three steps in most of them, I'd see this getting taken a lot. And I do like it.
Yeah, I agree. Turn one, again, seize the center. I bring up two of these resilient units to take the middle. And then I am ready to embrace the charge. Again, we talked about some of these armies that are, Mortek Guard, for example, with their new anti-charge. Cool. Bring your Mortek Guard into the center of the board, control it, embrace the charge. They can then retreat later on and then get, your murder ponies, your Mortis Guard, your Morghast to then charge in. And then you go on, and to your point, the domination is certainly the harder part, but I'll take that and score two of the three. Then look at some of these other ones where the conditions for a fray or strike are really hard. So you're right. I think this will be probably the most popular picked card.
Could well be. But this also has, when your opponent has it, you do have good denial options. If you get into the center first to really stop your opponent kicking it off and getting the sacred centrality, then you can make it difficult for them. So again, it promotes like some good sort of counterplay and some good back and forth between the players. So I think, yeah, it's going to be fun. It's just another example of this is going to be so much fun. It's going to be so different to the way we play now, where I tend to pick lists where at least 4 of my 5 battle tactics have no interaction with my opponent. Can't do that anymore.
Yeah, my battle tactics in the past have been basically 1, 4, and 5 are basically set, and 2 to 3 just rotates, like just depending on the game state or the opponent. But like 1 is always seize the center. Turn 4, turn 5 is like take their lands, take their flanks, depending on which order I need to do it in.
Yep.
But then it's a combination of 2 and 3
A waiver or
whatever, like how priority rolls or the opponent and whatever. But going back to my other point, I was saying earlier on the last card how much I love, say, for example, Shadow Stalkers or Dreadblade Harridans. That unit can so easily deny domination by then just teleporting straight into the corner. I'm in your deployment zone, and I've now stopped you from domination. And if they're fast and durable, I could be just jumping from one corner edge to another. And if you don't have mobility, so do I need to have some shooting to be able to handle these type of annoying units? Anything that has these teleporting shenanigans. Again, I said Skaven with what's it called? Skitterly.
Yeah, Skitterly war normals. Like Skaven have mod options. Sylvanet. Oh my word.
Translocate from Stormcast. All of a sudden, that Lord of Relic just coming back in. And all it does is it's teleported the unit in turn 1, turn 2. What am I doing with Translocate? Cool. I can now be annoying turn 4, turn 5.
Bring myself over. Bring the priest.
Being domination.
Yeah. And even then you could have Varangard chasing the priest around. It'd be amazing. You're just moving from corner to corner. Yeah.
So again, like I have like all of these units like Shadows. In my case, the Shadow Stalkers, there are so many units where like, oh man, all of a sudden his role is now completely changed. Yeah. There's so many things I can do now, and now the value of my army is no longer who does the most damage, who is the best one drop list that can just be ultra aggressive and just ultra smash with CP efficiency, because that'll only get you so far. A smart player will be able to play around, score their tactics, and they don't need to do that type of style. And those 500-point units, like a Krondas, for example, how many battle tactics does Krondas score you? And is that still the best choice? I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. But it's now these questions on my list is, do I take Morathi? For the first time ever, I'm not running Morathi in my list. That's 800 points of battle tactics I can't score. Question mark.
Yeah, agreed. And I think that's probably my single. I know it was my first point about battle tactics, but it's the most important point for me, is that this impacts your list design. So you build into being able to do these things effectively, which you had to a certain extent maybe back in sort of second and third edition, or the third edition where you got the individual book battle tactics. So but they had their own problems. This feels much more balanced across different grand alliances, different armies, but will lead to so much stuff we've not seen on the tabletop coming back out. It's going to be so exciting. I'm very, very, very excited about the new season. And I do get the sense it's not just me. I think a lot of the community are feeling the same way. Everything they've seen, everything that's come out has built that excitement. Scourge of Ghyran has built that excitement. It's going to be a great, I think it's going to be a great season. Particularly the next couple of months are going to be so much fun.
Yeah, I think my message to you all, depending on who you are and where you're coming from, if you are an existing player who has rode the journey of 4th edition, I think we're about to reap the rewards of the change. I know for 3rd edition, some people really missed some of the complexities that were in 3rd edition, and I think we've reintroduced them in a new, exciting way, whether it is, again, the new enhancements. I missed things like monstrous rampages. I missed things like, here are the special enhancements, like your monster enhancements, for example, like Beast Claw Raiders. Like, give me some. Even people aren't running Fire Slayer Magma Droths because, again, they're just not great value, but now they've got their own enhancement. I think you're going to see some new exciting lists coming to the table, and I think the complexity that we've been dying for is finally here. Yeah. If you're someone who hasn't played 4th edition and you are just committed to my channel, or you've picked this up because you've seen all the hype and the curiosity, I think it's a good time to come back. I think it's a good time to come back because there's some new, exciting, interesting things. And Vanilla Hammer, Manifestation Hammer, all of the things that kind of turn people off in those first couple of months, it's all perfect. But we're in a good spot.
Yeah.
I think we're in a good spot. As a player, as a TO, as a creator, I'm genuinely excited.
Yeah. No, it's there's going to be a Ghyran joke. It's going to be a wild time for the next few months.
But it's not just a flash in the pan. Like, there's actually some good stuff. And
absolutely. The battle tactics system in particular is going to be, it's just going to change how you play the game. Like the things that have done so well, suddenly they're going to be effective at getting on points and score and getting 50 of your 80 points. They're not necessarily helping you with the other 30. So it's going to introduce a lot more sort of decision making and tactical dilemmas for people to actually have to deal with. And I think that skill expression is going to evolve. And if anything, it's going to be more complex in terms of how you meet all or address all those different decision points that we talked about, in terms of this could work like this, it could do that, it could do this. So I think that there's going to be a lot more to think about. I could see some tournament games running long to begin with until people really get into it, which I think for all the TOs out there, we definitely need to take that into account. Be that with better milestone management, be it with chess clocks, be it with how you manage the time, whatever it is that you do to manage the time, you're going to have to manage the time, I think, in the short term. There's going to be a bit of a learning curve. But I asked that question to the designers, and the feedback from playtesting has been that it's a quick to learn, hard to master. So yes, initially there's going to be a little bit of a ramp up, but then people are very quickly going to get into it and keep learning things as the year goes on to make themselves more and more effective and express that skill more effectively. So it's going to be, I think it's going to be a good year.
Can I also say with the battle tactics, some people, and it's very fair criticism, is that sometimes battle tactics force you to do things that you don't want to do. Whether it's seize the center where my army doesn't want to run forward and be in the center, or it's something else where it's like, I'm forced to do something. And that's been a trend throughout battle tactics in the past. One, I've got complete agency of which battle tactics I pick that best suits me, my play style, my army style, my unit style. But two, it's going to pull you a lot less from what you want to do. I said my sons, for example, they want to run forward, they want to smash. Boom, there's one or two of these cards that work perfectly for that aggressive, high mobility play style. On the flip side, I've talked a lot about my Daughters of Cain. There's a completely different play style for me, and I pick different cards. And both of those sets of cards are playing to the things that I want to do on the battlefield. So it actually feels like they're trying to complement my style and complement my lists rather than conflict me and pull me out of my castle because I need to go seize the center or take the flanks, or punish me from not having teleporting to go seize their land, or like I'm not conflicted in that way. So for me, I'm feeling it more complementary and a lot less resistance on battle tactics. But as you've also heard me talk about, I've had to build into it. I'm thinking a little bit more about underrepresented units that are going to help me score it. So I can't just go all Witch Elves and Sisters of Slaughter and Marathi or all Snakes. I've got to actually build into it. So it's a good opportunity to revisit. And it was a good opportunity for Games Workshop because I did just buy $400 worth of extra models. Because I've got Doomfires and I've got Shadow Stalkers, but I've always had like one or two units. I'm like, hey, I need a second Shadow Stalker. I need a third Canary. I need more Doomfire. I need more of this. All right, here we go.
Yeah.
Hilarious. Any final thoughts or comments? Like, this has been pretty robust. We're an hour and 45 minutes in, much deeper than a generic preview, but I hope that we've given you a good lay of the land of what to expect, how to set yourself up for success as you start thinking about your list, and then see the points adjustments and think about, between now and like the points going up and things like that, look at your faction. Look at ways you can mitigate all out attack, all out defense. Look at ways you can take advantage of certain new rules, whether it's through the Scourge of Ghyran, whether it's, things like the battle tactics. Take this opportunity to pause, look at your tools, and think about what tool is best for the job, rather than grabbing the list that you've just been running and try to cram it in, because it may not fit.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. I'd also say, like, depending on what your event schedule looks like, spend the next 3 months just trying stuff out, because there's got to be so many combos and so many synergies that you'll get into your third game. You're suddenly like, hang on, this unit that I actually brought for that really helps me over here. And then maybe those synergies that are not immediately apparent will start to come out in a few months' time. And so sort of keep up to date with what is doing well and why it's doing well, and play games would be what I'd say, because like, I know I'm going to have to play a ton of games before I have any real confidence about what battle tactic cards I want. I've got some ideas based on the way I think my armies work, but I don't necessarily, I don't think that what I play in the first couple of weeks of June is what I'm going to, first couple of weeks of when the GHB comes out is what I'm going to be playing when we get to the sort of crunch end of the seasons with your Novas, LVOs, WCWs, those type of events. Like, definitely experiment as well.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Is don't worry about coming out the block winning all your games. I think it's really good advice. Be curious, try things, learn some lessons. Obviously we all want to win more than we lose, but what's more valuable, to your point, is learning and thinking about the combinations and the situations and how you score things or what's good and what's not. Like, get some opinions and try things out, and be curious to experiment. I think this is a good time to experiment because, to your point, depending on where you live and the major events that are coming up in your community, Australia has CanCon. I have my Sydney GT that comes up in October, the Novas, the LVOs. Like, there's all these milestone events. Practice and be curious. Don't try to get your Nova list right now. Be curious for those first couple of weeks and then settle into something and practice properly.
That's
Yep. That's it. All right. I think we're the well is dry. Look, we could talk for hours. I think we could really talk for hours, but I think this is a good first consideration of the new Generals Handbook. James, any shout outs? Anyone you want to say hello to? I love your shirt, by the way. I need to get.
Thank you. Team Mid Atlantic from the US Masters last year. Thanks to Ted and his partner for designing the t-shirts. Shout outs, probably obviously Tough Crowd, forever Tough Crowd. Thanks to everyone who came out and supported the GW Open in Dallas this last weekend. I'm not going to be there, but everyone's looking forward to Edmonton because that's the first US Open, but it's now just the Games Workshop Opens because it's going to be in Canada, and then we'll be up in Tacoma for the biggest one of the year. Then looking forward to Nova, looking forward to LVO, looking forward to all these big events because regardless of who's running it, it's the big events that keep the community moving forward, and there's a ton of unrecognized effort that's going into setting these events up. So support your local TOs.
Yeah, and also, like all the people who are running 30-player events, 50-player events, like everyone, high tide lifts all boats. So I'm excited to play the 30-player events. I'm excited to play. I've got some 50-player events coming up. With any luck, I'll be at Tacoma. Maybe we'll get some commentary. Maybe
two people will be commentating on the stream in Tacoma.
Maybe we'll get to showcase this at Tacoma. So if you are at Tacoma and you happen to see some random Australian, go say hello to them. Maybe. No promises, but who knows? We'll put some pressure on Games Workshop right now, this very second. The last thing I just want to say really quickly, James, you reminded me, if I would highly recommend people, especially over these first couple of weeks, if not moving forward, but go look at Warhammer. Warhammer is a great resource that shares lists and the meta as it's unfolding, so you can start to see some of the picks. Come to my Discord. Over 11,000 people are talking in factions. Like, you want to hear what other people are like. I can only play 1 or 2 games a week, but there's thousands of people playing games on a frequent basis. I can watch Tabletop Simulator at any moment in time. I could set up a game at any moment in time. I could say, hey, what battle tactics are you using? And 100 people could post straight away, these are my favorite combinations. And, how are you scoring that? These 3 units. Wow, I didn't even think about that. How are you doing it? Here's a little explanation. So you can learn from the community. So whatever that is, whether it's your local games community, whether it's a local Facebook, like, use this as a tool to fast track your success. So that would be my last sage advice for you all. I hope you have found this valuable. Thank you again for Games Workshop for sending me the Generals Handbook in advance. If you do want to support the channel, again, I'd point you down. Warp 5 Minis in the USA, Element Games in the UK, or Gap Games in Australia. Link is down below. I appreciate your support. I hope you found this valuable, and I'll chat to you all again soon. Bye for now. Thanks for hanging around until the end. I hope you enjoyed that video and you walked away with a few new ideas. Now, if you did, I would love it if you pressed like on the video, as well as left me a comment with your thoughts. The conversation will continue over on Discord, and the link is down below in the episode description. I also want to give a massive shout out to the AOS Coach patrons and YouTube members who are supporting the channel and the growth that you're seeing here. So cheers, you are all bloody legends. And until next time, don't roll a 1-1 on a spellcast.